Hi, this is Giselle Michelle again. Welcome back to another episode of CEO Corner by iCatalyst Consulting. Um, this is episode 3, and I wanted to continue on with a theme that I thought might be useful for us to talk about. And that's technology and the use of technology in positioning or repositioning small businesses or your small business, I should say, and using technology to grow, using technology to remodel and advance your small business. So today I wanted to talk about this idea of, again, we're still kind of talking about the kind of post-pandemic world, what that's going to look like, what that's going to feel like, what that might be like. And because we're not talking about a particular business, but many businesses, particularly small businesses with limited resources, how can you use technology as a way to pivot and leverage the limited resources that you have so that you can get farther, right? The article that I mentioned before by the Pew Research Center, again, I'm going to put it in the description box for both videos because I'm using them as references. In the questionnaire that they had put out to several academic experts and other industry experts, one of them is Henning Schulzreen, Internet Hall of Fame member, former Chief Technology Officer for the Federal Communications Commission. And, excuse me, Henning says, the epidemic has accelerated the awareness of technologies that were previously only known to early adapters. In particular, remote interaction technologies, whether video conferencing or various virtual reality applications, seem likely to be more commonly used by many employees outside the technology sector. This might allow at least partial work from home for many back office jobs, whether customer service or business process jobs, right? Now, the idea of having an accelerated awareness of technologies to support business achievements or business achievement goals is something that we have all been living with very, very intimately in the past year. Now, on my end, I have to say, because I'm a consultant, because we work with businesses all over, having video technology be a part of the work process is not something new. But what's been new about it, frankly, is how incredibly accepted it now is. How people have not only taken this notion of video conferencing for work, but also for leisure opportunities. So if you have friends who are living in all parts of the world or all parts of the country, and it's somebody's birthday, the idea of video conferencing in, folks, for the birthday party is not something that was very common before, but it certainly is much more common and much more accepted now, right? So, there's still this idea of, how do we, make it kind of feel more trigger more of this emotional core, right? Particularly now that companies have pivoted to using technology as a part of their everyday business function. To do anything on the leisure side with technology now is like pulling, a tooth or something, right? Because people are feeling like exhausted that they have once more to use technology. It's almost like you're calling me to be back at the office again, right? But again, is there a business opportunity here though, right? For an innovative, technology savvy, or not even a technology savvy, but someone who has had to live with this changing mode and modality that we have had to adopt over the past year and a half to at least minimally a year. Is there a business opportunity here for someone to come up with a strategy that, you know, that provides this convenience that I think people are still looking for, but, to do it in a way that that brings in the humanity, right? That brings in the organic that we also are still looking for, because we haven't quite fully moved to this online world as our only mean of interacting with each other, as the accepted mean of interacting with each other, right? So what can we do? What can we do as business owners, innovators? Entrepreneurs are the innovators of our time. So what can you offer as a person who sees this opportunity to change the game for all of us, right? And the other question I will ask you is, how have you been using technology to pivot into, that seems to be my new word these days, pivot. How have you been technology to pivot into our newly defining work environment? Was it something that was difficult for you? Was it something that was difficult for your employees? If you think about the fact that most employees in the US work for a small business, right? So all of these issues about how technology is going to be used in the workplace, how people are going to be affected by, this notion of ease in their lives, as well as productivity. All of that is going to affect businesses. All of that is going to affect not just the large major conglomerates, but also very much, I think, if not more, the small businesses, because technology is what's going to allow you the opportunity to really stretch your resources, right, in a way that may not have been quite as accepted before, but certainly is much more so now, right? So I'd be interested to hear how you have made the turn, or are making the turn, to having technology be a longer strategy that you use intentionally, right? Because let's face it, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was the beginning of the pandemic, and it was a global pandemic. Nobody knew what was going on. Things were closing down. Governors all across the country, as well as, governments all across the world, supply lines, all of it, all of it, even the oil industry was closing down, right? All over the world. I remember being able to participate in a webinar that was being hosted by Harvard University's School of Business. I remember all of the participants being members or graduates of some sort of the business school, or have had dealings, and therefore were from all over the world, all over the world. And the discussion was the same throughout, right? Everything had slowed almost to a halt, no matter what the industry. Everything has slowed almost to a halt. And so what everybody was doing was, okay, let's stay calm, try to figure out what was going on. And then pretty soon it was, all right, I can't stay this calm. I've got to figure out, what I'm going to do with my business. I've got employees. I've got vendors that I owe money to. I've got rent to pay. I've got, leases. I've got this, that, and the other, right? And so pretty soon, within a few months, you started to see activities slowly began again around addressing what a new normal was. And people everywhere were talking about, what is our new normal? Well, the new normal was essentially a response to what was going on, whatever it was externally, right? That was affecting the internal life of everything. And soon what that meant was everybody went inward, they went inside, they were working from inside their home. Technology became, having great Wi-Fi, having good computer systems, having all of those things that made work possible from inside your house. So your small little home office, if you were lucky enough to have one, became your primary home office. Or if it was your table, if it was your little kitchen cabinet or counter, whatever it was. All of these things, though, were responses. They were not necessarily strategic. They were not strategic designs to, how we're going to do business as a result of this, right? There were more responses to how do we continue to do what we do for our clients, for our work, for all of the above, and in a way that still allows us to get paid, that still allows us to pay people, that still allows us to connect with our customers, etc., etc. All right. And human beings are amazing. We managed to do it. We managed to do it for the most part, right? And again, lots of businesses suffered. Lots of businesses, frankly, will no longer be able to open their doors, either from retail or wherever else they fall. And I would, again, here is where I would love to hear from you. You know, how was your business? How was this pivoting that we had to do? How did that affect your business? What did you have to do to continue to survive? How did you use technology, or how was technology helpful for you? Or was it in helping you to take a step back and go inward and then begin to produce your to reintroduce yourself again to the larger world? Um, and now that we spent a year and a half, a year, again, depending on all of that. The time has gone by so quickly. Um, now that we are where we are, and we're looking at reopening a world and looking at a world beyond the pandemic, what do you see in store for your business? How do you see yourself using technology? Is it going to require an additional influx of investment on your part to ensure that now that you know this is how it's going to continue, to do it well and more efficiently, right? That it's not just this hodgepodge model that many businesses had to use, right? Because sometimes even if a business was using technology, they had old systems, right? They didn't have the appropriate, you know, software that allowed them to do the work in a way that was efficient, and so on and so forth. Well, now that we know that the world is still going is going to look a certain way in terms of how people work, where they work, you know, and how do we accommodate that as employers? What do you have to do to ensure that your business continues to move forward in a way that continues to support your goals and supports your employees, so that your goals ultimately, everybody's goals, are met at the end of the day, right? What kind of technology will you be introducing? What kind of learning will need to take place so that everybody's on the same level and feel at ease with using the technology in a way that allows them to be innovative, as opposed to, you know, kind of an arduous process, right? Because there is a possibility here that, frankly, you could use the technology to help, not just as a way to simply do the work differently, but really to grow your business. So how do you plan to do that? Do you plan to do that? Or do you plan to sort of go back to how things were, with some modest changes pre-pandemic, right? You know, I'd love to hear what you're looking at in terms of, you know, what business looks like for you in the post-pandemic world, what technology looks like for you in the post-pandemic world, what resources you need to make sure that your business continues to thrive and survive, and scale post-pandemic, but because it effectively uses technology. All right. And what didn't I ask? What questions didn't I ask under this heading of technology, using technology as a strategy for growth, using technology figuring out how to best use technology as we move forward in this post-pandemic era. Um, yeah, yeah. So would love to hear your comments. Would love to hear your feedback. Please, take a few seconds to subscribe, push the like button, share the information with your colleagues. And so thank you again for checking us out. And I'm hoping that, as time goes by, we get better and better, like everything else in life. And but more importantly, that the goals get met in terms of really creating a community here, and a resource base that really supports and inspires small businesses, small business leaders, um, leaders in general, and those leading nonprofit organizations as well. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.